Over the past several videos, I've transformed my wife's stock 2021 Specialized Rockhopper Sport 29 from a basic entry-level mountain bike to, in my opinion, a truly trail-worthy hardtail using carefully selected, wallet-friendly upgrades that suit the build. Now, just to recap, the 6 upgrades made to this bike are tubeless tire conversion, Hollowtech 2 bottom bracket conversion, platform pedal upgrade, 1x drivetrain conversion, dropper seat post, and a front suspension fork upgrade. Now in this video, I'll wrap up the series and offer my thoughts on which upgrades were the most impactful for any of you considering upgrading your own Rockhopper or similar bike. Now for starters, I have to say that all of the upgrades combined have really transformed the bike beyond my initial expectations. Now admittedly, I wasn't super careful about keeping detailed weights, but in total, the bike did shed over a kilogram of weight, most of which came from the 600-gram savings on the front fork upgrade. Now, it really feels like a totally different bike, and I'm honestly able to push it way harder than before, and I'm able to ride at the limit of my personal ability before reaching the bike's limitation, which was not the case before the upgrades. Now, I do find that it's really hard to rank the upgrades because I think they all work together to produce the end result, but I'll try anyway, starting with the least transformative and working my way up to the most transformative. And you have to remember, I'm only considering the 6 upgrades that I actually made on this bike, so keep that in mind before you type out all the other potential upgrades that I missed along the way. Okay, so starting with number 6. I think probably the least impactful upgrade might be the bottom bracket upgrade. Now, going from a square taper to Hollowtech 2 will certainly modernize the bike and stiffen up the crank feel, but honestly, I think it's more of a foundational upgrade that allows you to choose from a wider selection of cranks and save some weight, but not the most transformative change from a ride feel standpoint. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying this isn't an important upgrade or a worthwhile upgrade. I'm just saying of the 6 upgrades that I made, I think there are other upgrades on this list that are, well, more transformative in terms of the ride experience. All right then, so number 5 has to be, and this is tough to say since I actually like the upgrade so much, but probably the 1x drivetrain conversion. Now again, I'm not saying that the 1x drivetrain isn't good. It's actually really good, and the shifting on the box components Prime 9 system is fantastic. But if we're ranking upgrades on their ability to transform the ride experience, I just think that, again, there are other more impactful upgrades on this list. Now sure, I love the simplicity of the 1x system and the major reduction in chain slap due to the clutched derailleur, but technically the stock 2x system offered a wider range of gears overall, and it worked decently well. So all I'm saying is that this conversion is maybe not the first upgrade that I would do to this budget build. So that brings us to number 4. Now, this one I think is going to be a little bit controversial, and I also expected this upgrade to rank higher on the list, but for this specific build, I'm going to go with the tubeless tire conversion. Now, before you blast me in the comments, I know what a good tubeless tire can do for the ride feel and all the benefits that come with tubeless technology, but I just think that the particular tires that I picked were maybe not the best. Now these Kraken tires by Hutchinson are the hard case version, which means they use a more robust casing to prevent flats, which is certainly nice, but the drawback there is that they're not nearly as supple as other tubeless tires that I've tried, and they just aren't as compliant as I was expecting. Also, finding the ideal pressure has been a challenge, and I still don't think I've quite honed in on the optimal pressure for my given terrain. Now aside from that, the tread pattern is definitely lighter than the Maxxis Minions that I'm used to, but as XC/trail tires go, I did expect a little bit more in terms of traction from these tires. Anyways, we're halfway through now, and that leaves the pedals, the dropper seat post, and the front fork left to sort out. So number 3 has to be the pedals. The race face Chester pedals that I put on here are just such a solid upgrade, and for the money, their impact per dollar ratio is probably the highest of any upgrade on this list. There's such an improvement over the stock resin pedals, which have these like molded traction pegs that provided almost no grip. Now I've used the Chester pedals on several bikes in the past, including my current Santa Cruz Hightower, and I just can't see spending any more money on higher end pedals when the Chesters are cheap, durable, lightweight, and super grippy. Definitely one of the most confidence-inspiring upgrades on the build, as I no longer have to worry about constantly slipping off the stock pedals when the going gets rough. Okay, so down to the last 2 upgrades. Now if you stuck around this long, hopefully it means you're getting some good value from this video. Hitting the like button is a great way to let me know, or better yet, subscribing to the channel is a fantastic way to show your support, and I'd truly be thankful if you did. Anyway, so we only have the dropper seat post and the front fork upgrade left. Now coming in at number 2, for most transformative upgrade is the RockShox Judy Silver TK front fork. Now, the full details for this upgrade are in the review video, but the stock SR Suntour fork used a really basic coil spring with no rebound damping and no lockout, and a compression adjustment knob that really I think was just for show. Now, the $170 RockShox Judy is a marvel of product design, and it somehow offers an air-sprung shock, a functional lockout, and a rebound adjustment that actually works for less than you'd spend on a good pair of tires. Furthermore, for this particular build, it saved 600 grams over the stock shocks, which, yeah, is almost 1.5 pounds, which is definitely noticeable while riding. Now, all combined, this fork has transformed the bike and made it way more predictable and manageable through chunky terrain. I no longer feel like I'm getting ping-ponged around on the trail, and I can stay way more composed, which allows me to ride faster with more confidence than before. Again, for the money, it's probably the best improvement to the bike's performance of all the upgrades. But I still don't think it's the most transformative upgrade on this list, at least in my opinion. So the number one spot for this series and the most transformative upgrade to this bike is, yes, the dropper seat post. Now, I know some of you are going to argue this, and I honestly was expecting either the fork or the tubeless tires to yield the biggest change in the ride experience, but the dropper seat post just fundamentally improves the ride experience more so than any other upgrade on this list. It puts you at the perfect height to climb, and then you can drop it out of the way to really allow you to move the bike underneath you on chunkier descents. Now, of course, you can still ride down technical trails with your seat all the way up, but for me, this has never been fun, and the benefit of being able to get your seat out of the way on the fly is, in my opinion, the most impactful change to the bike of all the upgrades considered. Now, the Brand X Ascend seat post used in this build is feature-packed and works really well, and even includes a remote lever, which is surprising given its already low price tag. Now, I've also heard in climates where sub-zero temperatures are common, the Ascend seat post actually outperforms its more expensive counterparts in that it doesn't get stuck the way the others can do when temperatures really drop. Now, this is unconfirmed hearsay, but it is something to consider nonetheless. Now, oddly, all of the Rockhopper models come with internal routing ports for a dropper seat post, but none of them actually include a dropper seat post stock. So I would say if you have a Rockhopper, or if you're planning to get one, and you really want to improve the ride experience, then this might be the very first upgrade you should consider. Alright, so it's been really fun to put this series together, and I think the final product came out really well. All of the upgrades that went into this bike were pretty carefully chosen to reflect the entry to mid-level status of the bike, but I'd say in its current form, it really performs well as a solid trail bike. Now, of course, this video isn't meant to be a conclusive statement on which upgrades you have to make, but rather it's just an account of my experiences throughout the process of upgrading this bike. Now, if you followed along throughout the series, I hope you enjoyed watching the transformation, and if you missed some of the videos along the way, they'll all be in this playlist over here if you want to catch up. Now, I'll probably do an on-the-bike video in the near future and take you along some of the local trails and showcase how this bike really performs, but for now, thanks for watching and thanks for subscribing if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time.